Are women equal? Let me ask you that. Are we equal to men?
Absolutely, they are. Absolutely, they are. And I think I'll just give a little bit of an insight into my journey as well. So, born in Pakistan, lived there for the first 28 years of my life. My education, when I did my MBA, that was in Pakistan. And I moved to Britain when my twins were 3 years old. They were toddlers. And I was pretty much grappling with the same issues, Iram. And I think those issues are also related to what we're hearing now about women, the messaging we're hearing about women. And I would say that the battering we're now getting and the amount of battering and punches that we've got in the last 30 years is a phenomenon over the last 30 years, particularly. And it's to do with the rise of a particular form of Islam, which is political and also, I would say, Arabized. So it's a particular version of Islam which is exported to the rest of the Muslim world through madrasas, through writings, through preachers. And that is an Islam that has battered women a lot. So I really feel, especially for the younger generations, the millennials who followed us and Generation Z who've grown up in this anxiety-ridden kind of discourse about women, which is very demeaning towards women and actually towards men. I think often men don't realize how demeaning it is towards them. I grew up in Pakistan, very kind of ethics-oriented understanding of Islam. And then kind of in my late teens, I started becoming aware of this, but women have inferior intellect. Naqisul Aql, women have inferior faith, Naqisul Deen. That is how the famous hadith used to be translated. Women have been born from the rib of Adam, and they're crooked. So if you try to straighten the rib, it will break. So don't try to fix them. Don't try to reason with them. They're irrational anyway. If you reason with them, then some kind of explosion will happen. So I really started to... Yeah, not rational. So all those messages were coming our way. And just like you, I used to sit and think that if Allah has given me inferior intellect, then how come he's enabled me to pinpoint this? Because if I was subhuman, I could be like an animal with no sense whatsoever of my inferiority. I wouldn't be rationalizing it. I wouldn't be thinking about it intellectually. But the fact that he's given me that thought, the ability to think that thought. But then also, if Allah is Al-Hakam, so he's a judge, a fair judge, and he's Al-Adl. So the interesting thing here is Allah does not say that I'm Adil or possessing of the quality of justice. I am justice. Mm-hmm. It's an absolute. Saying that Allah is Al-Adl means that he is absolute justice. So if Allah is absolutely fair, then how can he commit this unfairness? So rationally, it doesn't make sense. So
you also mentioned something else, which was very interesting, Sitara, when we were talking, that if I am of inferior intellect, then why would I be judged the same?
Exactly. And the levels of accountability as well are similar. So so if, for example, if let's say a 15-year-old, God forbid, a child dies young at the age of 15, Allah will judge that child accordingly. The 15-year-old is immature, may have made some bad decisions, but he's a child. But if women are also the same and women have an inferior intellect, then if Allah, and we have to obviously always agree that Allah is the fairest of judges, then he would have also have given us some mitigation. Yeah. He would have said your punishment is half of the punishment of a man because your intellect is half of the... Yeah, because you're stupid and you can't get your head around these things. I'm going to be very lenient towards you. Diminished responsibility. In the justice system, this is called diminished responsibility. You have diminished responsibility because you just can't get your head around this and you're just silly. So in the absence of that, what happens is it creates these contradictions when we try to connect with the Quran. And it took me a long time actually to join the dots and understand what was happening. So if it's okay, if I can give a longish answer here, Iram, because I think this is an important question.
Of course, yes.
I think what I'm going to do is start with the idea, which I think is often not presented to Muslims, is the idea of the fact that knowledge is created. So knowledge is like cake. Okay, we see the cake, which is the end product. Somebody cracks some eggs, puts some butter in, puts some flour, sugar, vanilla essence or whatever, and then uses a process to produce an end product, right? Which is cake. Now, when we are told something, because we haven't been taught to think critically, I'm not judging anyone because we're just not taught in our education systems, because we're not taught to think critically. When a piece of information reaches us and it's religious information, we think it's the truth. So for example, there are many examples. Might say, okay, women are inferior in intellect. We receive it as truth. Now we're trying to make sense of that truth. It doesn't make sense, but we're thinking, okay, this is what Islam says, I have to accept. Or we're told that women must be subordinate to men in a marriage, right? So the guy is boss and the wife is his subordinate, right? So this is kind of the patriarchal view of marriage. You say, okay, this is what the Quran says, that a devout wife is also an obedient wife. We receive it as truth. We also have some other truths. For example, Islam says a woman must stay in the house. We receive these as truths. Now, what they are, in fact, are opinions and interpretations, and they have been arrived at through a process of interpretation, of knowledge creation. So a scholar has taken some stuff from the Quran, taken some stuff from Hadith, from his culture, from his customs, from his own conditioning. He has made some assumptions about that knowledge. He's then presented it as an opinion.